And then it is said, وَإِنْ أَرَدْتُمُ اسْتِبْدَالَ زَوْجٍ مَكَانَ زَوْجٍ. But if you want to replace one wife with another. So the men are addressed over here that, if the marriage is simply not working out. And this happens sometimes, that there's something about the wife that the man cannot tolerate anymore. It's becoming unbearable. It's getting out of hand. So, for example, she is, very wasteful, for example. And one day she spends $200, another day she spends $500, and then she spends a whole lot of money there, and she ends up, draining his savings. And he has advised her, he has warned her, he has told her, and then she's becoming very rude in the relationship, and then she ignores him, and she doesn't care about him at all. So in that case, if he feels like, you know what, I am done, I am fed up, I cannot handle this anymore, or he feels like, he just does not like her, he feels he just does not want to be with her, and it's possible. So here the men are being addressed that if there comes a point where you intend to replace one wife with another, that you make up your mind that you are going to divorce her and you intend to marry someone else, right? You intend to marry someone else. But then, of course, when you're thinking of getting married to someone, you know that you have to give mahr. So you want to give a good mahr. So you think that, you know what? This wife of mine, I don't want to keep her anymore. I don't want to be married with her anymore. I'll just divorce her, take back the mahr, and then give that mahr to the person that I want to marry. So this is being forbidden over here, that you cannot do that. That وَآتَيْتُمْ إِحْدَاهُنَّ قِنْطَارًا. And if you have given one of them a great amount in gifts. Qintar is a heap of money, a whole lot of gold and silver. So even if you've given a treasure to the first wife and you intend to divorce her, فَلَا تَأْخُذُوا مِنْهُ شَيْئًا. You cannot take anything back from it. You cannot take anything back from that mahr. You cannot take back the wedding ring, you cannot take back the jewelry, you cannot take back the clothes that you gave her, the car, the house, whatever, anything you gave her, you cannot take it back. أَتَأْخُذُونَهُ بُهْتَانًا وَإِثْمًا مُبِينًا. Would you take it in injustice and manifest sin? Because you see, if the marriage was consummated, so a man marries a woman, the marriage was consummated, they were living together, and then after some time the husband says, I can't, I'm done. I can't continue this marriage. So he wants to divorce her, he divorces her. He cannot take anything back from the mahr, even if he gave her $1 million. All right? And this shows us that a man can give a qintar to his wife as mahr. A man can give a whole lot of money. The mahr can be super expensive. It can be $1 million or more. If that is something he can afford, and that is something that she wants, it's permissible. Okay, but if he divorces her, he cannot take anything back, not even a small fraction of it. All right? أَتَأْخُذُونَهُ بُهْتَانًا وَإِثْمًا مُبِينًا. The only situation where he can take it back is that she seeks khula, right? She seeks khula. And how would she seek khula? That she wants to end the marriage. So he uses some kind of social pressure to make her leave, to make her end the marriage. And sometimes what people do is that they accuse the woman. They use slander. What kind of slander? That, for example, he says, she flirts with other men. All right. And she wasted so much of my money. And she has a boyfriend, and she does this in private, and she does that. So basically he attempts to tarnish her reputation. All right. So he uses buhtan basically to hurt her and torture her over and over again until she says, you know what? I am done. I can't be with this man anymore. I'm supposed to be his wife, and he has no respect for me. So in order to get out of there, she gives the mahr, and she leaves him. All right. Wa ithma mubina. But this would be what? This would be slander on his part, and this would be manifest sin on his part. So it is said, وَكَيْفَ تَأْخُذُونَهُ? And how could you take it back? Meaning, how can you even think of taking the mahr back? وَقَدْ أَفْضَى بَعْضُكُمْ إِلَى بَعْضٍ. While you have gone in unto each other, وَأَخَذْنَ مِنْكُمْ مِيثَاقًا غَلِيظًا, and they have taken from you a solemn covenant. So basically, two reasons are being given over here for not taking the mahr back. And what is that? The first reason is وَقَدْ أَفْضَى بَعْضُكُمْ إِلَى بَعْضٍ, that you have been intimate with each other. Yani you became one flesh. You were in private with each other. You were intimate with each other like no one else is, right? Because أفضى فلان إلى فلان means that so and so was alone with another. All right. Meaning they were together in a place where no one else is. And this is referring to sexual intercourse, that you have been intimate with them. How could you now take back the mahr that you gave her? You cannot do that. And secondly, وَأَخَذْنَ مِنْكُمْ مِيثَاقًا غَلِيظًا, they have taken from you a solemn covenant. And this is referring to the nikah, meaning you did the aqdun nikah. Remember that nikah, marriage, is a contract, and that contract is made in the name of Allah. And when a contract is made in the name of Allah, it is a solemn contract. It is not just an ordinary agreement. This is a serious agreement. And part of that agreement was that you gave the mahr. So now, how can you violate that and take the mahr back? The Prophet ﷺ said that فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ فِي النِّسَاءِ, fear Allah regarding women, فَإِنَّكُمْ أَخَذْتُمُهُنَّ بِأَمَانِ اللَّهِ, because you have taken them in God's security, meaning in the name of Allah. And and he said you have the right to intercourse with them by God's word. Meaning, if they were halal for you, this was by the name of Allah, by the contract that you made in the name of Allah. So don't violate that and take the mahr back. So in summary, what we learn over here is that men are being prohibited from taking the mahr back at the time of divorce. And they're being prohibited from using ways of slander and false accusation and using, pressure, etc., in order to compel the woman to leave, and so that she will return the mahr. So basically what they're being told is that if you have given the mahr and you have lived with her, then don't even think about taking the mahr back. And we learned the exception earlier, that if she is doing fahisha mubayyina, clear immorality, then in that case, yes, you can use some kind of pressure in order to make her end the marriage, in which case you will take the mahr. Then it is said, وَلَا تَنْكِحُوا مَا نَكَحَ آبَاؤُكُمْ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ, and do not marry those women whom your fathers married. And it happens in some situations where a man has multiple wives. So let's say the second or the third wife of the father, let's say he divorced her, or the father has died, and now the son thinks about marrying the widow of his father. So this is being forbidden over here, that do not marry those women whom your father is married, إِلَّا مَا قَدْ سَلَفْ, except what has already occurred. Meaning, if something happened in the past, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, it's done and over with. However, إِنَّهُ كَانَ فَاحِشَةً وَمَقْتًا وَسَاءَ سَبِيلًا. Indeed, it was an immorality and hateful to Allah and was evil as a way. So remember that this was something that would happen in the time of Jahiliyyah. And we learned earlier about how they would inherit women. So sometimes the eldest son would inherit the wives of his father, right? Of his deceased father. So it is being made very clear over here that this is something forbidden. If there is a woman that your father was married to, then you cannot marry her. The son cannot marry the ex-wife of his father. All right. Of course, when it comes to the biological mother, that's completely impermissible, and the Arabs did not do that. Of course, this is incest, and that is something that is considered abhorrent everywhere. But وَلَا تَنْكِحُوا مَا نَكَحَ أَبَاؤُكُمْ, this is referring to the other wives. Okay. Now, إِلَّا مَا قَدْ سَلَفْ, except for what has happened, and this kind of nikah is described as three things. First of all, this is described as a fahisha. Fahisha meaning something that is immoral. Immoral meaning according to the law that Allah has given, this is like zina. All right. And even aqlan, it's difficult to accept. This is something so strange. It's something disgusting. Because marrying the ex-wife of your father is similar to marrying your mother, right? And this is not appropriate at all. Secondly, this is described as a maqtan. Maqt is ashaddul bughd, extreme, severe hatred. This kind of action is extremely deplorable. It is detestable. It is hated. And this means that the person who does this is detested by Allah. The person who does this is hated by Allah. So maqt is violent hatred. Imagine. Such a person is hated by Allah. And secondly, such a person is hated by people as well. And if you find out that someone married the ex-wife of his father, you'd be shocked. You'd be disgusted. This is extremely repulsive. And also, it is maqtan. How? Because the son will begin to hate his father after he marries the ex-wife of his father. Why? Because it's very typical that whoever marries a woman dislikes the person that she was married to previously. So this is a source of maqt. This kind of a marriage would be a source of hatred. It would make the son dislike the father, and the father dislike the son. And if the father is not alive anymore, it would cause the son to have certain feelings of dislike for the father. And then thirdly, this is described as sa'a sabila, a bad way. Meaning the person who does this, he marries the ex-wife of his father, he is on a bad way. Some have said that this ayah means that do not marry ma nakaha aba'ukum, meaning the way that your forefathers got married. And how is it that their forefathers got married? They got married without giving mahr. They got married through inheritance, meaning they inherited marriage to women. And they would marry certain female relatives, okay? Like, for example, the father's ex-wife. So don't marry in that same way. And this shows us that the way that Islam teaches us about marriage is the way that we have to follow, right? There could be certain things that are considered taboo, that they're considered unacceptable, all right? Like, for example, marrying your cousin. This is something that is considered unacceptable in many cultures throughout the world. But in Islam, it is permissible, all right? Likewise, we see that in certain cultures, marrying the cousin or marrying someone in the family is a must. You can only marry someone from among your relatives, not an outsider. But in Islam, that's not the case. In Islam, we're allowed to marry a relative and also a non-relative, someone from your race and someone who's outside of your race, someone who speaks your language and also someone who does not speak your language. Likewise, we see that in certain cultures, it is a must that the wife be younger than the husband, right? But we see that in Islam, that's not a condition, right? That the wife can be older than the husband, right? This is something that is possible. Khadija radiallahu anha was older than the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when it comes to marriage, yes, our culture, or our customs, yes, we pay attention to them, but they should not be the law that we follow. The law is the law that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed. That is more important. And that is what makes the final call. And when it comes to cultural practices, okay, you can be considerate of them. That, for example, if in your family it will be considered very strange and people will become very upset and very hostile if you marry an outsider. Okay, you can find someone from within your family, within your race. All right, just because you don't want to live with that constant battle, right? You pick your battles. Okay, you can consider that, but don't think it's the law. And where things are completely contrary to the law of Allah, then of course the law of Allah is going to be given preference. So here we see that it was customary for Arabs to, marry the father's ex-wife, but here it is made completely impermissible. So one is culture and one is religion. So the law of Allah is what takes precedence, and that is the source of guidance for us. And culture, where it offers some kind of cohesion within people. There are times where it will be a source of discomfort for people and awkwardness, etc. But the law of Allah will always take precedence. So inshallah, we will conclude over here for today. If there's any questions, inshallah, I can take them. Any comments also, I would love to hear from you. Bismillah. Okay, a question related to inheritance. That a couple who don't have children want to donate their property as a trust to an Islamic organization. They said that they have done this after consent of all family members who are happy to do so. Does it mean that their inheritance will not be distributed? They're very desperate to fulfill their will. Please guide. So the thing is that in the case of the kalala, right, we learned earlier that a person who does not have ascendants or descendants, no parents or children, then in their case, we see that it's the siblings that inherit. And in the absence of siblings, the next closest relative. So the thing is that even though they don't have any children, they still have legal heirs. All right. So technically what should happen is that the share of the legal heirs should go to them. All right. And then those heirs can decide what they want to do. If they want, they can, donate that money, if they want. And if they want, they can keep it. But to ask a legal heir, okay, is it okay with you that the $25,000 that you technically inherit from me, is it okay for you that I give this to such and such, a cause of charity? Well, what is that relative going to say? No, you give it to me. It's my share, so you give it to me. They're not going to say that. It's extremely awkward, right? And it sounds very greedy. So what should be done is that the heirs should be given their legal shares. And after that, let the heirs decide what they want to do. Okay? You can suggest that this is what, we would like, but you cannot compel them. You cannot even ask them, because asking them is, in a way, putting them in an awkward position. All right. However, when it comes to 1/3 of your wealth, absolutely, you can give that as wasiyah to any charitable cause, inshallah. Okay. Okay. So at the time of marriage, the husband gives, let's say, some jewelry to the wife and says that this is your mahr. All right. Is that okay? If the wife is okay with that, she says, yes, I like this mahr. I'm good with it. That's fine. All right. But if she says, no, I don't like this mahr. I want something else. Right. Or I'm not okay with, this piece of jewelry that you gave to your first wife. Right. And now you're giving that to me. So the wife, you see, this is why the wali has to be there. right? It's the wali who agrees on the mahr on behalf of the woman. Because sometimes a woman is not in that position to say, no, I'm not okay with that. No, I want something else. No, this is not enough. It's the wali, the father, for example, who will say, no, this is not okay. It needs to be more. And the mahr has to be agreed upon at the time of nikah. And this is the reason why the mahr is mentioned at the time of nikah. Because sometimes when people don't mention it and they don't clarify it, then when the woman goes to the husband's house, he says, oh, by the way, the jewelry that you're wearing today, that is your mahr, right? Or the ring that you're wearing is your mahr, and the necklace that you're wearing, you can give it back to my sister. It belongs to her. That is not fair. Okay? These things must be made very, very clear. And if the man's family is not making it clear, the woman's family should take initiative. The father, the brother should bring that conversation up before the marriage happens. Inshallah. Okay. Sometimes you hate a habit of your spouse, but there may be something good in it for you. But what can be good in a husband who drinks alcohol? How can you patient with that habit? Now, you see, like I mentioned, there are things that are non-negotiable, unbearable. All right. And it's your choice that if you don't want to accept something in your spouse and you say, this is the final call, this is the last straw, right? That's it. I cannot accept uh, being treated like this, or I cannot accept this in our marriage. You have the right to leave. However, if you decide that, this is something that I dislike about him, but I know he loves me, and I know he takes care of me, and I know that he loves our children, and I know that our marriage is very important to him, and you want to, continue with that marriage, then you have the right to make that decision. And you can also remember that, yes, drinking alcohol is a major sin, but it does not make a person a non-Muslim. All right. Drinking alcohol is a major sin. It does not make a person a non-Muslim. And yes, it is extremely difficult right now, but you don't know what the future holds. It's possible that if you leave him, this would uh, affect your children. I'm not saying that for the sake of your children, you suffer abuse. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that it's possible that if you just focus on one bad habit and you say, this is it, I'm ending the relationship, the harm that you get out of ending the relationship is far worse than the harm that you were suffering in the marriage. So you have to decide. All right. The point is that you have to take all things into consideration and you have to decide as an adult what works best for you and what compromise you are willing to take. And whatever compromise you're willing to take, then accept it and expect good from Allah. Expect good from Allah that, Ya Allah, I am putting up with this for your sake. And Ya Allah, you do not waste the reward of those who are patient, right? And you bring something good out of it. And at the same time, and this is general, not just in the case where, for example, the husband drinks alcohol. It could be anything else that hurts you, that bothers you, that disappoints you in your marriage, and you don't like it, but you are putting up with it. Make sure that you are doing something for your own well-being. Make sure that you are doing something for your own well-being so that you can survive in that environment that is becoming toxic for you. If you still choose to keep that relationship, you have to do something to take care of yourself. So it could be something like talking to a marriage counselor, talking to a coach, a therapist or something. You cannot neglect yourself. All right, inshallah. Do not issue divorce for the throne shakes because of divorce. Yes, this is not an authentic narration, and there are many things that are said in order to stop people from divorcing. However, when so many verses are mentioned in the Quran that teach us about the process of divorce, this means that this is a permissible way. All right. And when it is permissible, it means that, honey, it's okay. People need that sometimes, right? Many times, in fact. And it's not a bad thing to leave a relationship that is no longer working. Yeah. And a divorce is not something sinful, it is something permissible. And remember that when a person follows the law of Allah, they're obeying Allah. And when they're obeying Allah, they're obeying the law of Allah, they're being rewarded. So if a person goes through divorce properly, they're actually being rewarded. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillah. Can an adopted child be part of inheritance after their parents have passed away? In that case, they have to make wasiyah. All right. Remember wasiyah? That you can make a will of up to a third of your property for a non-heir. Now, a child that has been adopted is not a legal heir. All right. So in that case, the family can leave a will in their favor, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Any specific du'as or actions that can be done in order to find a good spouse, righteous spouse? Of course, make du'a and be helpful to people. Don't hesitate in making good connections, and keep making du'a, and inshallah, work on your own self as well, your own personal growth, and inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enable that when the time is best. Okay, inshallah, I think we will conclude over here, and the rest of the questions I can take over email, or they can be shared with you, inshallah. Okay, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk, wassalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.